So I absolutely loved Apple TV's latest movie, Ghosted, starring the brilliant Chris Evans and Ana de Armas. And I mean, it is a little bit of a formulaic action-adventure romantic comedy movie, but honestly, these two just hold it together so well. And of course, they've done quite a number of movies together now. Of course, Knives Out, and then The Grey Man, and now this one, and they honestly just work together so well. And it's just such an enjoyable movie across its 2-hour runtime, as like I said, you can just tell that Ana de Armas and Chris Evans are just really comfortable with each other, and they just bounce off each other really, really well. They play off each other really, really well. I mean, they could have upped the chemistry between the two characters a little bit more, as it does feel a little bit more like friendship than a romantic interest relationship, but it just works really, really well. And I love those type of movies that just start off as one thing and then quite literally become something else. Of course, the main example of this was Parasite, and whilst it is a very different genre, it just works really, really well. And it is really interesting, as it was supposed to be Scarlett Johansson opposite Chris Evans, but then due to scheduling conflict, Scarlett Johansson had to pull out. And I do think, you know, they might have been a better pair from a chemistry perspective, but Ana de Armas is really able to hold her own in this film. Speaking of which, from the second act onwards, this movie literally did become something else. But from the first act's perspective, I absolutely loved it. How Chris Evans is the guy that is being ghosted. He is the hopeless romantic. He is doing all of these big gestures, and Ana de Armas' character just doesn't really care and is just trying to be really cool throughout. So I just thought that dynamic between these two guys was so clever. And one thing that I absolutely loved is that Chris Evans in particular is really playing off type from what you would expect him to be, as it is a very different performance to what you have come to know and see Chris Evans on screen, namely, of course, Captain America. And the Grey Man, this guy in this film is actually a farmer who has never left the country and now is suddenly finding himself involved in a bit of a CIA mission. So it's just so brilliant to see a very different type of character from Chris Evans. And as always, as he is a brilliantly talented actor, he just plays it so well. And surprisingly, you do actually believe it, that this guy is really inexperienced with fighting. He's never shot anyone. He's never done any of the things that he is now suddenly expected to do. But that being said, there are a number of Captain America-esque type sequences and scenarios involved with this character. And actually, from that perspective, I really loved his trajectory across this film, as he really does grow and develop as a character in a number of different ways. For example, his understanding of humans, how you really can't take people at face value, and of course, really understanding how to be in a relationship, and of course, the dark world of what the world really is like. So I absolutely love this guy, and of course, Chris Evans is so charismatic, and he's really, really funny, and you're just with him as he's just finding out more and more about this crazy world. So Chris Evans is absolutely smashing it out the park, as always, as the Cole Turner character. Then we have Ana de Armas, who is really, really good as Sadie, and she really is the anchor of this film. And she has really demonstrated over the last couple of years that she is a formidable action hero in her own right. For example, being a Bond girl in No Time to Die, being in The Grey Man 2. And of course, she is going to be in the John Wick spin-off, Ballerina. And this film really does demonstrate that she is going to be an absolutely brilliant character in that film, as she just effortlessly plays the action hero in this film so well. And she just looks so great doing it. And you really can tell the power dynamic in terms of this character really is the expert who is training Chris Evans' character. And, you know, she is a real expert from a CIA perspective. She is really good in terms of focusing on her mission, and just the humanity that Chris Evans is able to bring out of this character is really, really good. Some of her one-liners are absolutely brilliant. So like I said, as a pair, the two of them are so great. And one of the things that I really love about Hollywood at the moment is that they are really doing a good job in bringing out the evil, darker characters and the baddies, so to speak. As before in old Hollywood, I feel like, you know, they were just bad, evil characters for the sake of being bad, and you didn't get to know that much about them. I mean, there are a couple of exceptions. For example, Aladdin, Jafar was absolutely brilliant as a bad guy. But I feel like these days, you know, you really do get to understand the motivations of the villainous characters, and in some respects the villains are actually a little bit more interesting than their protagonists. For example, the Joker and the Batman, especially because villains just hold no punches back and are just so determined to get what they want. And they are really good in this film as well. For example, Adrien Brody and Mike Moe. You can just see all of the power dynamics between these guys. But there are a string of evil guys in this film, just one after the other. And you really can see the evil hierarchy within the villainous space. And because they are villains, they really aren't loyal to one another. So it's just so interesting. And the cameos, oh my god. The cameos in this film were just absolutely brilliant. If you're a Marvel Captain America fan, you will absolutely love them. And the cameos in Hollywood, it literally is one of my favorite things in terms of, you know, you don't know who is going to pop up and have a little bit of a guest appearance in a film. It was just done so well. And you can just tell that all of these guys and girls are just best friends off screen. As like I said, they were just doing each other really big favors, and it just worked so well. And I just can't wait to see who of these characters is going to appear in another person's project in the future. As like I said, the cameos in Ghosted were just absolutely phenomenal. But of course, you know, this isn't the only action-adventure movie coming out. There are loads of action-adventure movies coming out over the last couple of years. So for example, like I mentioned, The Grey Man is really similar also to Bullet Train and to Jamie Foxx's Day Shift too. But most of all, even though, you know, it isn't a direct comparison, I feel like Chris Evans' character being mistaken for the mysterious taxman does have so much resemblance to Kevin Hart's movie, where he was acting alongside Woody Harrelson in the absolutely incredible Man from Toronto. Honestly, in that film, I was just laughing throughout, as well as thinking that the action-adventure sequences were so good. So, you know, I feel like Ghosted is in such good company. From a visuals perspective, there are some absolutely incredible sequences in Ghosted. There was no expenses spared, as they just looked so good. I mean, in a couple of situations, you can tell that they did cheap out, as a couple of things just happened off-screen. For example, them jumping off the plane. But outside of that, all of the fight sequences were so good. For example, the van sequence where Chris Evans' character is just being flung around and they're just trying to stop all of these evil guys in tanks, and Ana de Armas' character is traveling in reverse. It was so clever. And then the sequence in the plane, even though after the plane when they jumped out, that bit was taken off screen, but the bits that you do see in the plane were really intense, absolutely brilliant. And like I said, I just love how Chris Evans' character is just growing in strength and expertise and in brain power as well as the movie is progressing. That was really cool. The restaurant sequence, while it's all flying around, that was super intense and absolutely brilliant too. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more from the beach sequence. What I did think of was Pirates of the Caribbean 2, as it really did remind me of when Jack Sparrow was running across the beach. And I just absolutely loved it, how they are fighting all of these bad guys, but you still get to see a lot of bickering between Sadie and with Colton. I thought that was absolutely brilliant and really did make it a little bit different to other films that you have come to see. So, you know, this movie was so good. It has some absolutely brilliant sequences. I feel like the relationship between Chris Evans and Ana de Armas was absolutely undeniable. And I just think this movie was just super enjoyable and is definitely one that you need to watch. And I feel like the critics are being really harsh with this film, as I think it's a lot better than people are giving it credit for. And so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. And I'm just really hopeful that they do make a sequel, as like I said, this movie is just absolutely incredible. But now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of Ghosted? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.